It's Canada Day, and along with that comes free agency, and the Oilers have re-signed familiar names. They've signed names nobody really knows, and they're also going after a few big fish in the sea. But before we get into that, make sure to subscribe to Oilers Digest, as 92% of you have not yet subscribed to the channel. Make sure to join along the ride as we get into the rest of free agency here and into training camp in the preseason. But without further ado, a familiar name in Edmonton stays. Connor Brown stays in town, but there's a few other deals before that, as Noah Phillip and James Hamblin re-signed with the Oilers organization. Of course, Noah Phillip, the Alberta Golden Bear, he was in the Oilers organization, retired for a year, came back, and he's now back with the Oilers along with James Hamblin there. He's been up and down within the Oilers and Condors lineup in the AHL. It's nice to have that depth. He's a nice depth piece, He had that, great story about his first goal last season. In 2 years, $1.55 million. I mean, not much you can do to complain about that. But the real story, Connor Brown here, signed for 1 year at $1 million. He's back with the Oilers. Of course, he clowned the Oilers fan base when he wasn't, performing to his, usual offensive output there. And then he sort of made a name for himself on that penalty kill with Matthias Janmark throughout the regular season and into the playoffs in the Stanley Cup Final. There's not much you can do to complain about that. I mean, the guy tries his hardest every single game, and you can't complain about a player like that. I mean, what can you do? But another new name comes to the Edmonton Oilers. Viktor Arvidsson comes over from the LA Kings. If you can't beat him, join him, as the LA Kings have lost to the Oilers 3 straight years in the playoffs. As you can see there, the signed graphic, Viktor Arvidsson, 2 years, and Bob Stauffer of the Oilers Radio Network says Viktor Arvidsson is a competitive top 6 right wing that could complement the Oilers' Leon Draisaitl quite well. And of course, Mattias Ekholm, you got the Swedish connection, and assist in recruiting. Arvidsson, big resume here, 5-time 20-plus goal scorer. And then Bob, like myself, love the price point in terms solid addition, in his opinion, and a solid addition in my opinion too. I mean, you can't go wrong for, a winger to go along with Draisaitl. Of course, Kris Knoblauch alluded to in his post-season presser that Draisaitl didn't exactly quite have the star power on his wing, and now he does. My only concern about Arvidsson here is his health. Of course, he's never played a full season in North America, the closest coming, 2 games off in 2016-17 with Nashville. I mean, say that what you will, but yeah, if he can stay healthy, he can be fantastic. Of course, he only played 18 games last year, but he still had 15 points in those 18 games. And he also had 59 points in the year before with the Kings, and he scored at least 20 goals 5 times, including 30 twice. And like Bob said, could be the new right wing for Draisaitl, who himself has 1 year left on his contract and is eligible to sign a new contract that will kick in starting in the 2025-26 season. That's also been a big storyline for the Oilers heading into free agency. When are they going to get a Draisaitl extension? I think it's already been done, but they're sort of waiting for all the pieces to fall apart. And one of those new pieces comes in the form of Josh Brown. Now, this was a signing that I was sort of confused about, and a lot of Oiler fans were confused about, and you can sort of see the analytics, not his best friend, a 0 percentile wins above replacement. I can't say I've ever seen a 0 on these JFresh charts before, but when you see numbers like that at a cap hit for the term, I just start to question everything. You see a 2 percentile even strength defense, and just not a whole lot to say about him, other than he's a big, tough defenseman. He's the Vinny Desharnais replacement, but they could have gotten someone else, like Matt Waugh, or a guy like Sean Walker. I mean, when you have like those replacements out there, and you see Josh Brown, I don't know why you would go for him at all. And then Daniel Nugent-Bowman here from The Athletic. Not really wise words, or not wise words, not really friendly words to say about Josh Brown. But yeah, chances 4 percentage, 41.3, shots 4 percentage, 42.6, expected goals 4 percentage, 43, and even goal share at 33. And yeah, and then he says, a message from someone who watched a lot of Arizona games last season. He's just an awful player, and maybe that changes on a better team in Edmonton. And if it hasn't worked for any of these teams, I struggle to believe how it would change on the Oilers. Of course, Florida, of course, those weren't before their powerhouse days. But even on the Bruins, they don't lack anything on the defensive back end. And yet, when he couldn't make a name for himself there with that team, it just it just puzzles me in every which way but one. And then with the Arizona Coyotes, he was taken over on the depth chart by Michael Kesselring, who was an Oilers prospect, and then traded for I don't believe it was Troy Stetcher. It was for Ben Gleason. That's who it was. And then Kesselring took Brown over in 6 games on the depth chart. But there's lots of questions here. And then after signing Arvidsson, Connor Brown, and Josh Brown there, and they've also made some other few moves. They re-signed Corey Perry, 1 year, $1.4 million, and then Colin Delia to a minor league deal, so he can be, down in Bakersfield with goalie depth. I mean, goalie depth, you can never ask too much. Of course, they did draft a goalie in the entry draft, but just smaller moves within the Oilers that aren't really to the impact of these moves right here, except for, the addition of Corey Perry. Will the Cup curse continue for Corey Perry and the Edmonton Oilers? Let's hope not. Let's hope they reverse the course there. And there's also another tweet here saying the Oilers have interest in Ondrej Kase. And yeah, that would be a great ad. Kase is definitely a third-line winger at worst, and he should also be cheap. That I don't necessarily agree with, seeing as Ondrej Kase, his best days are behind him. And he also, with the Arvidsson effect, he just cannot stay healthy. You can see 66 games with the Ducks, and that's his career high when it comes to, North America. He had that big year with the Leafs in the bottom 6 on the penalty kill. Sure, you could be in a penalty kill role, but other than that, I don't really see a fit for him on this Oilers team. If you want to send him down to Bakersfield, be my guest. But a big name the Oilers should go for, and I've heard rumblings about, is Jeff Skinner. Yes, there was a tweet earlier today saying that it looks like the Oilers are getting closer to announce the signing of Jeff Skinner. And Skinner is yet to play in the playoffs, and with his buyout from the Sabres, he will have earned over $100 million in his career in the NHL. And there still hasn't been anything relating to Jeff Skinner on that front. But when it comes to free agency, let me down in the comments. Let me know what the Oilers should do. Should they make any trades, of course, with CC, guys like Nurse, guys like Evander Kane. There's been some rumblings that Evander Kane has been very unhappy with the way that he was not so much was treated within the Oilers dressing room, but he's been missing practices, and he was upset that he didn't get the opportunity to play with McDavid. This was through the Sportsnet free agency show with Nick Kypreos and Elliot Friedman, so it should be interesting to see if anything will transpire with that this offseason. Will they find a buyer for Kane? Will they find a buyer for a guy like Cody Ceci? Will they make any bigger moves to fit in a Draisaitl extension? Will they make a Bouchard extension? Will they do that before Draisaitl? There's lots of questions, tons of answers to follow, but let me know in the comments, what should the Oilers do this free agency to make this team much better? That's it for today. Enjoy the rest of your Canada Day. I'm Matt.